Morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to our session. We're going to share, Sarah's going to share the screen as we begin our PowerPoint. Just a little bit of background knowledge. I'm Janet Barker. I'm a freelance art teacher and I'm a lead art practitioner on the project. And Sarah is also going to share the presentation with me. And she's the other lead art practitioner. Sarah's from the Start Studio. Some of you may be tuned into her session on Tuesday. She talked about how Start Studio had adapted. We're going to be talking how Tees Valley Creative Learning Partnership adapted our project when the curved ball of lockdown came along, how we adjusted to what we were doing, no longer being able to work in school, and used a website to promote what we were doing as a learning tool. So we're going to do, we're both going to share the presentation. We're going to give you some background information, first of all, about the project, just to put the whole session in context, really. So who are we? Next slide, please, Sarah. Thank you. So we are the Tees Valley Creative Learning Partnership, and we were set up in the summer of 2018 when we received funding from the Paul Hamlin Foundation, the Teacher Development Fund, which is about embedding, they have a number of funds that they do, and this one was all about developing teachers. So we set up this partnership, and the partnership is made up of Tees Valley Education, which is a local academy trust of 5 schools in the Tees Valley. And the deputy head, Louise Stockdale, who's the deputy head at Brambles, which is one of the schools, is part of our steering group. Sarah from the Start Studio, myself, and the Northern School of Art. The Northern School of Art have been on board right from the very beginning of the project, and their recruitment manager, Liam Bradley, is also part of our steering group. So the steering group that steers the project is made up of us four people. And the partnership works in collaboration with 9 schools in the Tees Valley and across, and a number of local artists from a wide background, lots of different experiences, lots of different talents coming together. And it was about, is about empowering teachers to use visual arts confidently in their teaching. And summer 2020 would have been the last term of our two-year project. This is our cohort of schools. You can see that there are 9 schools, 3 of which have special needs, 2 have children with profound and multiple needs, and 1 of them has children with visual and hearing impaired children. So, and they're all from areas of high deprivation. So we've got a real difference in the schools, their needs, and it was about tailoring the needs of the school with the needs of the project. Sarah's going to tell you next about how the whole project, how we all began, really.
Sarah, could you unmute yourself, please?
Sorry, how this all came about in the very first instance was is worth mentioning, because we weren't an organisation who were, you know, kind of doing our thing. We found our groove and kind of seeking funding to extend that. We came together from a real place of passion, actually, and we'd met because Liam Bradley from the Northern School of Art had introduced me to Jan and another lady who had really worked hard in getting extracurricular art projects, exhibition time and art visits into the schools in the school trust that they were working in. And that was Jan Barker, and another lady called Sue, who at the time was that school's business manager, and they were really, really passionate about children's art projects and having children's work exhibited and raising the value of creative arts education in primary schools. I was coming at it from my own place. I'd recently opened a creative art studio in the village, very near to the school, the Northern School of Art. And I was very passionate about getting more engagement with the community and having it being as a place where children could see art being done so that they valued it more. So we'd come from these two different kind of places. I had been a primary school teacher and left to concentrate on arts consultancy and support. And Liam, as the recruitment manager of the Northern School of Art, was very passionate about extending their CPDL offer. It's more towards primary teachers. So we had started doing some collaborative CPDL together with the Northern School of Art. I was sometimes delivering full days for primary school teachers in Liam's setting. And then we decided we had really good feedback from that. So we wanted to create more of an offer. And then we noticed that this Paul Hamlin Foundation project was on the table, but it was some funding that we could go for. So we went for that. And then the lead school came on board because we needed an organisation who had a certain size and structure to be part of the project and to enable to go for that funding. So we knew that very early on that the success of the project would come from getting that buy-in from senior leaders of teaching, the teaching staff. So we invited a lot of head teachers, and we presented to them at the Northern School of Art there in their boardroom and really got that buy-in from the primary schools before we put our application in, because we knew we would need that commitment to carry on so that it didn't get pushed aside. And we were really passionate about it, and we got buy-in from everybody that attended. Actually, it was really hard to get people there, but we put a buffet on. So it's really heartfelt that we're doing this work for many different reasons. So the Paul Hamlin project, Paul Hamlin is very special. Paul Hamlin was migrated to England during wartime, and he literally made his fortune by going around. He was a publisher, Hamlin Books, which ended up becoming the biggest publishing company in the UK, because he started simply putting pictures into books to illustrate. I mean, he started with cookery books and started putting a lot more visuals into there. And obviously that's become the norm. But in the day, it wasn't the norm in publishing. It was very text-based. And so, but he started selling his books out of a wheelbarrow. So this guy is passionate about helping children overcome disadvantage, their experience in disadvantage. So his mission is helping them have more cultural opportunities, because it just makes their life better. So it was a perfect organisation, really. And these are the continued professional development learning goals of the Teacher Development Fund, is that it includes all of the partnerships between the school leaders, teachers, and the the arts practitioners that do have specialist knowledge. But it's always very keen on everybody's learning being equal. So it's not just about the children's learning, but about all of the staff, parents as well, governors, and the people leading the project. We all have our own personal development goals. If you're involved in the project, you have to share those, and so that we can show progress. It's all involves inquiry-based skill development as well in the project. So we were very keen to make sure that we were finding out a lot about the skills and starting from their very individual places, so that we could help them develop to their needs, and they weren't doing anything that wasn't essential really to their individual school plans and their school development goals. And also just having a very reflective approach, where it's just a journey, and everybody's learning, and things go wrong. Lots of things have gone wrong. We've had so many challenges along the way. People have left schools at key times. We've had head teacher change, sometimes 2 or 3 head teacher change over the last couple of years. We've had a lot of challenges. We've had people in the project have had health challenges, but we wanted, you know, it's all right, because sometimes those challenges are where our learning is accelerated, as we found out in lockdown. So we also needed to make sure that the CPDL process was sustained over time. We don't want to go in and say, you know, this is what you should do. That's absolutely not what we're about. We want to find out where we are, what the next steps are, support it all the way along and bring them along on this journey, but over time, because it's the time where you realise how much change has been made. And always prioritised by the school leaders. So,
this was our project, or is our project objective. We needed to set something right at the very beginning. So it was about improving creative thinking through visual arts and embedding it across the curriculum. And I think the key words here actually are that we want you to focus on really is the creative thinking. We realised very early on that if we were going to leave a lasting legacy, then creative thinking was the key to it, and that visual arts would be that vehicle by which we could do this. But we also recognised that for all sorts of reasons, staff were lacking confidence, they were lacking skills in visual arts. They hadn't had training in their teaching when they were training. They were being de-skilled because art was given a low priority on the curriculum. So the first year needed to be about upskilling staff and giving them that confidence to be able to deliver visual art sessions. So that was our objective for the artists going into schools, to be able to do those kind of work with staff. They would take the lead role, they would plan, they would lead sessions, and give teachers the opportunity to actually observe what was going on with the children, what was going on in a session. And that really became very apparent from the feedback from staff, that they were noticing children that maybe they wouldn't have noticed before. They were noticing things that were happening in the classroom that maybe they just didn't have time to see before. So that was year one. Year two was about sort of letting go of the teachers' hands, really being there to support them, being there to facilitate sessions, being there to still plan with them, but giving staff that opportunity to lead, to apply those skills that they've learned across the curriculum. So this is our journey, really. A journey with lots of twists and turns, as Sarah's talked about already. So we started with that steering group, the four of us working together, planning the project to begin with, what we wanted to achieve, and what we've recognised as we've evaluated the project. And we have to send reports to Paul Hamlin on a regular basis. So evaluation is a big part of it, is that diverse group that we are, the talents and abilities, all the different things that we bring together is a real strength of the project. We meet regularly, we meet every half term or more, as the case may be, just to look at where we need to go next. And then we went into schools, Sarah has 5 schools, I've got 4 schools. We went into each of the schools and had conversations with the project leads. Each school has a project lead who is the main contact point. And we've just spent some time talking with them, finding out about their school, where they were with their long-term objectives for the school, where they were at with creativity, did they have space for creativity, really just building up a picture about each school. And from that, we were then able to put a report together, which we could share with the artists when we recruited. And when we recruited artists, we found that we got a lot of interest from across the region. And initially we appointed 5 artists, again, with diverse talents and abilities, some with teaching background, some not. We have one who is a community artist. We've got one who's worked in further education, lots of different talents and abilities that we're bringing to it. And we try to match those talents and abilities to the schools. We did change some after the first year, because it is about learning, and we felt some of the artists had skills that they could offer other schools. So that's what we did there. But throughout the whole thing, so then each of the artists then went into schools, and to date, each of the 9 schools will have had 32 sessions with their artist practitioner. Quite a lot of sessions, really, when you think about the project and what normally may happen with artists going into schools. Throughout that time, Sarah and I have run training sessions, sometimes just for artists, sometimes for the whole cohort. And that's a really big part of that has been about listening to what's been going on in school, listening to the artists and what their feedback is, where they think we need to go next. And because it's a partnership, it's not about us telling them this is what you've got to do. It's about listening and working out together what the next steps are in order to make the learning as best as possible for all parties. We've also had training, Sarah and I and Louise and Liam, and some of the teachers and the artists too have been to London for, I think, 4 or 5 sessions now with Paul Hamlin, really in-depth conversations, quite challenging, quite mind-blowing conversations about where we're at the project. And really, every time we've done it, we've come away with more ideas, more thoughts, more ways of how we can take the project forward. We've also had a celebration. One of the celebration events we had was at the end of the first year. We had an exhibition at the Northern School of Art of some of the work that had gone on in schools. And this was attended by the schools, the artists, parents, children, and the wider field. A really successful event. And it was really because that exhibition was then taken to a pop-up shop in one of the shopping centres in Middlesbrough. So it was shared with the wider public too. And all the way through this has been our sustainability. How are we going to make this sustainable? This was never meant to be a one-off thing, something that was just going to happen over 2 years, and then when we left, it all just disappeared. It had to be something that was going to be ingrained into the school ethos, part of schools. And the last thing, that's what we're going to do next. We're hoping to do next half term after Christmas is to have a conference. We think it will be a virtual conference, but that's where we're heading next.
So we're really looking at kind of March, even April time for that conference to happen. It'll be in Middlesbrough Town Hall, but we're really excited about that. We were going to do it at the end of the project, which we anticipated would be in July. So it is all already planned, and we have got some fabulous speakers that we've drawn from all over the UK, really, to celebrate creativity across the curriculum. So really, what has been achieved from all of the stakeholders' perspective? Well, really, if I take these groups, because it is all about everybody's change, but what we have achieved is in many of our schools, there has been, if I take schools first, there's been a whole school, a shift in the whole school ethos. Art's become higher profile in schools. Art rooms have been created, which I was really excited about, because I think that the environment really enables. I think it's one of the biggest things to sort of create creative spaces, which is why I set up the Start Studio. But actually, at the end of the project, 3 of our schools have now got designated art studios. They've changed a classroom into a designated art studio within their setting. That's how much they're valuing that kind of creative time. The art schools around the schools have been really transformed. We no longer put up, the schools no longer put up artwork that looks finished or best. It's not like that at all. The artwork always shows the development so that the children can see that that is also a journey, it's a process. And, you know, there are many stages to creating something, but the displays are prevalent, they're all there. You know, some of the schools have had their own exhibitions and online exhibitions as well. But the time given to the subject has also dramatically increased. They are making time, they are carving out, they're putting it as a priority now. It also is really effective for bringing in parents. It's a non-threatening subject to a lot of our parents who sometimes bring many barriers to the visits to school because of their own learning. And if we're asking them to come into school and share learning experiences with their own children, it's just a really wonderful way of using it in a cross-curricular way. I did a session one of these, one of the schools that I'm teaching in, and we had a strong link with science, with observational drawing, and it worked really, really well. It really engages parents. The curriculum changes have been huge. 5 of the schools, I think all of the schools have changed their curriculum and rewritten, especially their arts curriculum. But some have put it at the beginning of topic, and they'll start with art and let the children lead. So it's a much more child-led approach. Some schools have changed their whole curriculum so that all of their schools within their trust are doing the same artists in different year groups. And it's so that they can build up a bank of resources so that they can look at year 1 and share together as a trust what year 1 looks like. Now, I know that we do in school, we do book scrutinies and we kind of look at evaluating our subjects in that way. I've never known that happen for art. And that school now, Tees Valley Education, who is really transforming their practice, they have decided that going forward, they would like to put creativity as their own unique selling point as a trust, which is a massive outcome for us, that all of the outcomes have exceeded our expectation of what we wanted to achieve from the start. We've also got a creativity wheel. It's really helped us put creativity at the core of all of the subjects across the curriculum, because the children have got used to recognising when they're being creative and what creative habits they're using. So we're looking at different types of creativity that they now recognise. I'm being imaginative in science, or I'm being collaborative in PE. You know, we're using those habits right across. So Ofsted focus creative thinking and process rather than subject-specific stuff. And that's happened over the last 2 years since we started the project, not because of us, but it's going that way. It's becoming more of a thing. And the art's seen more as a process than a product now. But the children now have better vocabulary, child-led, it's more exploratory, it's more child-led. The mental health and well-being agendas that it meets are fantastic. There's been changes in behaviour. Children in the children's engagement and their attention levels are much, much higher. And their approaches to problem solving as well are really improving. And using the art, they're getting used to using pushing their own personal boundaries. I'm just wondering, my dog is woofing and woofing. Sorry, I'm really sorry. And I think it's just because somebody's been to the door. She'll stop. Is it all right? Can you hear him in the background? Is she really annoying? Do I need to swap to, shall I swap to you, Jen, for a little while? Yeah, to take over. Just to say the changes for the schools and the artists.
Yeah.
And I'll mute my dog.
You want to move the slide on, Sarah, please? Okay. So if we look at some of the, am I okay? Yes, okay. So if we look at some of these changes that have been made in schools, as Sarah says, there has been massive shifts in all, maybe it's the thinking that we've seen great real changes in. Whole school ethos, we've talked about that there is schools that are now recognising a wonderful moment, right, sort of maybe after 2 months into the project, was a project lead saying to me, I get it now, I really get it. Before, I didn't think art was worth anything, it was just like something I had to do, where I absolutely get it now. And it was almost like you wanted to jump up and down, because she could see the value of what we were doing and the value for the children too. So Sarah's talked about the fact that it's been a higher profile in schools, that arts rooms have been created in them, that there are displays, and lots more displays around school. Creative thinking right at the core of it all. Lots and lots of big changes. Would you move on, Sarah, please? Okay. And just give you a moment to read those. I won't read them. I'll just leave you to have a little look at those ones. And the next one, please, Sarah. Thank you. And again, I'm just going to leave you to have a little look at it all. What we recognised with the artists was that some of the artists didn't have that experience of working in a classroom in a pedagogical way, if you like. They didn't have that same knowledge and understanding that those who've worked in education with a teaching background had. And that's been a real learning curve for us, for them, of how to support that. Sometimes we make assumptions that people know exactly what we do, and because we are teachers, we know that people understand what goes on in a classroom. And for some, that's not the case. So that's been that's one of the learning curves that we found, that for some artists, having that time in classrooms, seeing how teachers work, seeing the language they use, the planning that's involved, and the practical issues, has been a real learning curve for some. Okay, Sarah, would you? Yeah, great, thank you. So I think by now you're probably getting the idea of the flavour of the project, of the fact that it's all about process, not product, that it's about the creative thinking, it's about being imaginative, being original, and valuing what the children are doing. It's not just a one-off lesson that says today we're going to paint Roseberry Topping, or today we're going to paint a portrait, right, tick, box, that's the art done for this term. It's not about that. It's about a whole process, the whole process that's involved in it. And the quote from Ken Robinson kind of sums it up, really. And it would be very easy for us to sit here and for the next hour and tell you all about what's been going on, but actually what we wanted to do was to give the other people in the project a voice. So the next slide is going to be the teachers, and some feedback from teachers and artists and SLT as to what the project is about for them.
I'm just going to pop this on. This is just a couple of minutes from a couple of the a teacher and a head teacher, so I'll just put them on for you to watch.
So that we can get like some input on how you've seen what's changed in the skills culture while you've been away, like coming fresh back into it. What changes can you see in the way that your school's approaching creative art?
So we're using it a lot for the mindfulness side of it. Obviously, a lot of our children have been, obviously everyone's been off for a while. So the mindfulness side is really important because that coming back to school could be quite a worry for them. But also as well, we've noticed during the lockdown, our families were accessing the art a lot more. So maybe parents weren't confident doing the maths and the literacy. So the art took a really big action with our children. They produced some like lovely work whilst they were off.
Yeah. So when in school, how do you think that the children and the teachers have moved on from maybe the beginning of the project when a couple of years ago to what's happening now?
They've used a lot of the CPD that we've done. So through those CPD sessions, I've noticed a lot more different styles of artwork have been used and different media because they're not frightened to use different things. They've had a go, they're just giving it a go, and then that obviously really does impact positively on the children as well.
I know that, what do you call it? I've just unmuted myself. Sorry, I know that Charlotte did quite a lot of CPD when she first started going into the schools and really focused on that. And I think it just I don't know, it just really launched it in Pennyman, I think. Like that first year, especially using a lot of textiles in their project work was really cool. And
Definitely.
And that's stayed, hasn't it?
Oh, definitely, yeah. And sometimes I think staff can be a bit nervous to approach art because it is so vast. But I think through that CPD, they've learned that
And one from a head teacher that we've been working alongside, she's really noticed how they're using it across different areas of the curriculum. So I'll just pop her on.
Sarah, I don't think we can hear the sound coming from that video.
No.
No, we're still not getting that. Do you have a separate link to that video, or otherwise we can move on to the next slide?
There you go. So I'll just let you, yeah, that's the next one. And then just some responses from those artists there as well, on what they got from that. Yeah, I'll put that into the chat later on, that video.
We're just going to give you a moment to pop. Am I on mute? No, I'm right. We're just going to give you a little time just to kind of read through these yourselves and just have a moment. If there's just pause, we can't realise we've given you lots and lots of information. Maybe at this point you want to post some questions or some comments in the box or have a swallow of tea.
Do you think that's kind of, shall I move on?
Yes, please. Yeah, that would be good.
Okay.
Okay, this is a video of a kind of a side shoot of the project, which we did with MIMA, Middlesbrough Institute of Modern Art in the Art Gallery in Middlesbrough. And what they did was put together a project for 3 children from each of the schools could be different children each time, and it was sessions around disciplines of drawing, painting, printing we managed to get to before lockdown. And the idea was that these children would then use the skills that they'd learned in the sessions and take them back into school. So they would become lead learners. They would show other children in their school new skills, give those children confidence.
Okay, I can't see the play button's obscured. I won't have put it on this screen when it's on Zoom. It's just below the, so I am going to just come out of that for a minute and go back to this slide and see if I can just do it that way, if that's all right. No.
Sarah, I don't think it will play unless you're on slideshow. So Rosie in the chat has said press control, then click on it. So if you share, yeah, go from current slide.
Oh yeah, see how it goes though. I'll tell you what, if I just make that small, if I just kind of go into my own and see if I can find that.
Okay, great.
For the children's one, because it's really good.
It is worth showing because it shows them sharing with their classes what they're doing.
Yeah, just where it is.
Is it worth coming back to it at the end, maybe?
I think so. Yeah, sorry. Oh, I'm really sorry about that. Let's just minimize that. I'm just going to pop this back on from the current slide. There you go.
Okay, so that.
Back to it.
Okay, so if we move on to the next one. Thank you, Sarah. So here we were. This was February 2020. We just had a really positive training session with the whole cohort, evaluating where we were, successes of the project, what we'd achieved in each school, a really positive sharing time of what had gone on in each school, and how we could make this project sustainable, coming up with concrete ideas. And because we'd involved senior leadership with them, we knew that things were going to happen in schools to make it sustainable. We'd found that staff were using and applying the skills, that those skills were becoming embedded across the curriculum. Some schools wanted to give pupil voice, so they'd started putting together art councils. As Sarah mentioned earlier, some places had put art rooms, some schools had made space for art rooms. Some schools had changed the curriculum. And one of the things that we've tried to develop, which Sarah's going to talk to you about next, is our version of the Thomas Tallis Wheel, the Creativity Star, which is all about embedding creative habits across the curriculum.
All right, so right at the very beginning of the project, we had shown this to the head teachers before we started, and we love the Thomas Tallis School. Thomas Tallis School are a secondary school in Kent, and they put creativity at the heart of all of their curriculum. So the children all have this pedagogy wheel in their planner, and they developed this from some research and created this visual from some research that they'd read about, and that these were the creative habits that make children more inquisitive, collaborative, persistent, disciplined, and imaginative. And we wanted the children to be able to recognise when that was happening in all of their lessons, so that they knew they were being creative. And so we wanted to make this more appropriate. It's very wordy, but we want to make it more applicable to primary children in their language. So we co-created this with the children. We took all of those words and we did a workshop with them for a day. We took 3 children from each of the 9 schools, and we did a workshop all about creativity, where we got them to really break down what these words meant, and collaboratively we came up with this creative star idea with them. Then we went back to the Northern School of Art, who turned this into a visual. So I'm just going to press that. I'm not gonna, that's not working because I've put an image over the top of it. So I'm really sorry about this. I'm gonna see if I can find it on that. I'll make that small and I will be able to find this, the creative star. It's a movie. It's a download. Oh, creative star. Oh, I'm really sorry. What I'm going to do here then is I'm just going to get rid of that. And hopefully, if I go back to the play from the current slide, then that should be there. Sorry about that. Here we are, film.
Inquisitive means to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions if you're stuck. Even if you have an understanding of, ask questions to clarify or learn more about it. Don't ever stop asking questions about things, because the more you know, the better. Persistence means never giving up. If you try something and it doesn't work out, you try again. It's about never giving up no matter what other people say, and you try your best every time. With persistence, you can achieve anything you set your mind to. Discipline is a bit like persistence. Someone with discipline never gives up. They keep focused on something and they keep trying to achieve it. They don't get distracted by others, and they don't let people put them down for trying. Stay focused, don't get distracted by what other people think, and be persistent. Our imagination is what makes us humans. Think of the inventions people have come up with. Think of the things in your home, your devices such as your phone or iPad. Think of the TV shows you watch or the medicine you take when you're sick. Without people being imaginative, you wouldn't have these things. No idea is a bad idea. Keep imagining, because you could come up with the next big thing. Collaborative means working together as a team. Working as a team means we can think of more ideas to solve problems, and so we can work creatively. Different people have different ways to solve problems, and a lot of people work quicker than others, meaning work can get done quicker. When we work collaboratively, we can solve anything.
Okay, and then it was lockdown, and then lockdown happened. So that's where we were right up until that stage. So we took everything online. We decided that we were going to create this website. I'll just pass back over to.
So here we are, we're in lockdown. What do we do? Where do we go? Well, we've worked with Andrew Stockdale from Spark Tees Valley to make this website, to put the website together. We were going to launch it in April, so we brought the launch forward. And it was going to be a showcase of what we'd achieved in schools and what we'd achieved as a whole cohort. So we decided we would do that, but we would also make it a learning tool. So that meant that the schools, our cohort schools, would still have some way of engaging with the project. We would be still providing information for them, but we would also be reaching a wider audience. And importantly too, we would be able to provide some work for our artists. It happened just at that time that David Hockney released his You Can't Cancel Spring Pictures. So we decided that would be our first activity, that would be our first theme. And from that point, we've now got 4 different themes with 5 activities around them. We've got blogs from all of the artists of the work that they've done in school. There are biographies about each of us, each person on the steering group, and our artists with contact details. We've just tried to put as much information as possible about our project and ways of supporting teachers and homeschool learners too. And I think Sarah's going to just share that, yeah, the website. So for those of you who haven't looked, this is what the website looks like. It's got projects for you. It's got information about the project. It's got the blogs on. There's lots and lots of information. And we're really pleased that it's been used. Well, it's been downloaded. The activities have been downloaded. It's been viewed across the region. Across the UK, and we've also had feedback that it's been used worldwide as well. Some schools have put our website on their website for other people to use. So we're really impressed with how it's taken off. And it's changing all the time. We've tried to make sure that there are activities going on every week so that there are new things to be looking at on it all. You can just see the kind of things that they are. Sarah's the person who puts all of the things together, and they're beautifully presented, really aesthetically pleasing the way they're done. Okay, next. Okay, so who is it for? Well, it was about the teachers that were involved in our cohort, but it was also about those people who would be educating at home, for childcare providers, for parents, for children. And what we wanted to do was we recognised straight away that teachers were under a lot of pressure. They wanted activities that were easily resourced, easily accessible. They wanted something that could download one night and go into school the next morning and know that those resources were there and available. So we wanted to make everything as simple as possible to begin with. We also realised that it was about being out in the fresh air. There was lots of being outdoors, being to do with mental health too. So we've tried to tailor everything that we've put on to look at those, to encompass all of those things as part of it. And I guess you get now that we're all about process, not product, and the teachers who are on the cohort get that totally, so do the artists, but it's about sharing that message wider. It was about saying to people, it's not about what you produce. You don't have to produce a pretty picture at the end of it. It's about just having a go. We didn't want to provide step-by-step guides. That's not what it's about. It's not what we're about. We wanted to make sure that people understood that it was about having some time to be creative. And that message kept going through, was that whatever you create is okay. The only person that has to like it is you. Giving people pointers of what they could talk to their children about. What do you like about your work? What went well? How might you develop it? This is the evaluation that we use in our schools all the time. What do you like? What do you notice? What do you wonder? Decide what you like about your work. How might you improve it? And it was also about sharing and celebrating. And we did have quite a bit of sharing, but a lot of it was from parents. We just realised that teachers just had too much. Their workload was too much at the moment. So that is something that we're working on at the moment. We're planning on having a gallery space on the website in the near future, so we can share images of what we've been doing too. So the important message is have fun. That's what we wanted to get across. Okay, Sarah. Unmute, Sarah.
One of these things that we really wanted to emphasize was that these activities were about just exploring, observing, discovering what do you like, notice and wonder. So we're going to use that in, like, we're just going to do a quick interactive activity. If you've kind of got a bit of a pen and pencil ready, we've got this lovely, there was, oh no, we had, where is it? We did have on our blogs, on this section here, there is an activity where Charlotte Pirate made these lovely, they took Victorian toys as inspiration, and they used it for a starting point for creative art. So what they wanted to do, we're going to do today, just really is just to design a really small character, just to get you thinking about how you might use this in a curriculum or in a setting, whether it's a cultural organisation that you work in, or a school or a nursery. Just starting off, just designing a small character. So they could be animals, that what the children noticed when they visited Preston Hall Museum, that lots of children's toys were based around animals. They didn't have to be, but you know, that as a class they decided that they wanted to base their toys around animals. But they looked at lots of different modelling techniques using paper mache and textiles to create these animals that were inspired by an artist. So we'd like you to, if you just got to grab a pen and a paper handy, we'd just like you, we're going to go into the breakout rooms now just for 5 minutes, and we'd like you to we'll design a character. If you could just take 2 or 3 minutes to design a character yourself and think about what you would use to make it. So these children, you know, they suggested things like toilet rolls or lolly sticks or wooden spoons and all of these things. But if you were designing your own character, what would you like to make it out of? And what would it look like? These were really linked to children's moods as well. So, you know, the children, they might be trying to reflect a mood with a character. Like characters have there's lots of different characters, isn't there? That, you know, some of them look really angry, like the Tasmanian Devil of a cartoon. We talked about cartoon characters and where do characters come from, all that kind of thing. We really explored that. So we're just going to have a little draw just for 2 or 3 minutes, just design a character.
It's Catherine here, and it was a great idea to be able to do the drawing, but I wonder if people might be able to take that away with them afterwards, because we're terribly close to time now, and people are dropping out.
Sorry to interrupt, Catherine. I'm not hearing you very well. I don't know if anyone else can.
Really great idea about the activity. If I can suggest that people can actually.
Catherine, I don't know if you can hear me, but we can't. Catherine, we can't hear you very well. Can everyone hear me okay over that? Okay, great. So I think Catherine was just saying that we're nearly out of time, so it would be fantastic if everyone could take that activity away from them and do it in your own time and have a bit of a play with that. That would be great.
Well, the next...
Yeah, you lost me. Sorry, I couldn't play earlier.
We did lose you. Sorry about that. That was going to kind of lead us into the breakout rooms then, to kind of just have a few minutes designing that character and just then thinking what you would make it out of, what you liked, noticed and wondered about doing that activity, about how it was for you as an experience, and what areas of the curriculum could you link that with next. So, you know, to take it into some different outcomes. For example, you know, if you were kind of using, you might want to scale something up you might want to make a small pattern for something. So you might take that into maths, you might take that into transformation. You might, creating patterns, you might want to do some measuring. You might want to take it into science. You might want to talk about different materials and a change of
Sarah's terribly sorry to interrupt, and I'm sorry you lost me before, but we are 11 o'clock and we're not going to be able to play the video, but it has been a really great session. So we're going to have to pause there, I'm afraid. Danny, you might have lost me again, so you might need to wrap for me.
No, we can still hear you, Catherine. I've just turned off your video to free up some bandwidth.
Okay, thank you. So it has been a hugely stimulating session. And what I would recommend is that, because we've had notice of your website, is that everybody can find it, and we will make sure that it's shared with Culture Bridge, because it was really rich, huge amount to see. And we just want to wish you all the very best with your continued revolution in the schools in the Tees Valley. One great thing is that Louise Stockdale has actually joined the Culture Bridge Advisory Board and will be able to maintain contact with us at board level for the future. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm sorry for bringing things to an abrupt end, but I'm terribly aware of timings. Remember that the conference is carrying on today and tomorrow, and that Danny is going to share the website with you as well, and so that you can keep contact with Culture Bridge. Urge you to fill in the feedback form as well, because we're learning a huge amount for Imagine If 2021, and I hope that despite the circumstances you can all go on and enjoy today.
Fab. Okay, shall I just tie that up right at the end? Just that these are our next steps. I'm just going to say that these are our details. They will be on the end of the PowerPoint, so that you can, these reports that go term by term go onto the website. There will be a published report at the end of March by the Paul Hamlin about the project. Our school offer, if we for the sustainability, we want these schools to then pass on their knowledge to other schools. So we're looking for new partners for next year. And there's also on the website, on the Tees Valley Creative Learning Partnership, there's also a school audit that you can download so that you can evaluate where you are now. This is the audit that we used with the schools right at the very beginning to get a flavour of where they were right now, so that you can start your own learning journey. But that is all, and mine and Jen's details are on there. But thank you for staying with us. Sorry about my technicalities. I had a man with a leaf blower outside my other room. So why does that happen? So thank you. Thank you to Jenny and Susie and Catherine as well.
Yeah, and thank you to Culture Bridge for giving us this opportunity. And because it's been recorded, can we just say publicly thank you to our schools, project leaders, teachers, artists. We couldn't have done that. We couldn't have done this without them. It's a success because of what they have done. So thank you to them, and to Paul Hamlin too for their funding. Thank you.